Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Boot Room. I've just had a little rub down on a troublesome hamstring strain before looking ahead with my good friend Stuart Watson to Ipswich Town's home clash with Peterborough this weekend. On the face of it, it's potentially a daunting one for Ipswich. We know their record against the best teams in League One isn't great, but it could also be a starting point for a real drive up the table. Let's see.
You've just mentioned that record there against the better sides in League One. It's worth reiterating again, Andy. 4 wins in 24 attempts against teams that either finished in the top 10 above Ipswich last season or teams that are currently in the top 10. Of those 4 wins, Gillingham, Crewe and Accrington feels like it's stretching it a little bit. They need to get that monkey off their back. Peterborough up first, they're 5th in the table, and then it's Sunderland coming to Portman Road on Tuesday night, who are 9th. It's now or never, do or die.
Peterborough is a particularly daunting one. If you just think back to 2020, back to February of that year, Ipswich were torn to pieces by Posh at Portman Road, losing 4-1 on the day where Will Norris, of course, had a bit of a blunder where Sammy Schmodix nicked it off his foot to score one of those goals. They're just coming into form now, Peterborough. They've got a front three, which on the face of things, they're dangerous. Johnson Clark-Harris through the middle. He's strong, quick, direct, can run the channels and can pull defenders around. And then when he does that, behind him, you've got Sammy Schmodix and Siriki Dembele in there. They're really clever little football players, buzzing around, finding pockets of space, bringing others into play and trying to get beyond Clark-Harris as well. That's how they scored their goals to come back and beat Charlton at the weekend. It's going to be a tough one for Ipswich, and there's threats all over the pitch that they're going to need to keep an eye on if they're going to get 3 points from this game.
Predicting the team, it was a fairly easy task earlier in the season because it was basically who was fit given the amount of injuries. But that injury list is cleared up now. And we've also got 2 new signings in the mix in Josh Harrop from Preston and Luke Thomas from Barnsley. So let's have a little stab at the team, shall we? And see what we think might happen. Defensively, a very good performance against Burton last weekend. Dug in, defended well, ground out a 1-0 win. Enciala and McGuinness, the 2 centre-backs, both in the team of the week, but will they get the nod again? I think so. I think that back 5 will be the same. Holy in goal, Chambers, Enciala, McGuinness and Ward. This is where it gets interesting. Midfield, Dazelle and Downs, I think they will be the 2 sort of deeper lying midfielders in there. Number 10, you've got some options there now, haven't you? Judge did well against Swindon in that number 10 role before getting shifted wide again last weekend. Bishop, we know what he can do, and now Josh Harrop comes into the mix as well. I think they might just go with Josh Harrop, chuck him in and see if adrenaline gets him through. I think Edwards will definitely be one of the wide men, hopefully wide left in his favoured role, and I think maybe Luke Thomas as well, a full debut for him. He's a left footer who plays a lot of football on the right. I think he'll be there. Up front, limited options. Hawkins out for 6 weeks after knee surgery. Norwood just felt a little bit of fatigue in his groin when he come off last weekend. I think they might need to wrap him up in cotton wool. And Caden Jackson's missed a bit of training this week with a thigh/hip problem. So that might just leave Aaron Drynan as the man to at least start this game up front. Andy?
If Norwood's fit, I'm starting him. But otherwise, I think I've probably got the same side to you. Although what I think they might do actually is go with Judge in the 10 and introduce Harrop from the bench. I think Thomas is going to be a nailed-on starter. He's been playing for Barnsley. He's good to go. Harrop's been a little bit more hit and miss. Had 2 training sessions with Ipswich now. I think he might wait in reserve to come in for Judge maybe on the hour mark if Ipswich need the spark.
Prediction time. As you said right at the very start, Andy, this is a daunting prospect. I think certainly looking from the outside in for Ipswich because of the nature of the defeat against Peterborough just under a year ago at Portman Road, because of the fact that Peterborough are coming into form, perhaps a little ominously just at this time, because of the fact that Ipswich have got players that certainly aren't fully up to speed, but be it the ones that are coming back from injuries or the new signings. So with all of that in mind, I have to say I can't see beyond a defeat for Ipswich this weekend. I've got 2-0 Peterborough written down here.
Sadly, I'm in that camp as well. I've got 3-1 to Peterborough written down. I think Ipswich are going to struggle to cope. Really going to struggle to cope with those runners from midfield. It's something they've not dealt with time and time again from teams, both with runners kind of arriving on the edge of the box to score goals and also runners getting on the ball to drive at their defence. So sadly, I can't look beyond a Peterborough win, but hopefully we've all got our fingers crossed that Ipswich can get this monkey off their back, get a victory against one of the real League One big boys, and breathe some real life into their promotion challenge.